So you took your time on this record a little bit, taking some time off the road. What were you searching for getting this together?
I felt like that it was imperative that we take time off the road to concentrate on the music, because that's what initially leads to being able to go out on the road. And it would have been very easy for us to make the record in a cycle, on a conveyor belt, because that's done. I've been guilty of that too. But I felt like that I was at a place in my life, and the relationship, the deep relationship we had with the fans, that I deserve more and that they deserve more. I have invested my whole life into what I do, and for the last several years, they've invested a lot also in the music, thank God. And that investment was worth protecting, and it was worth taking time away to concentrate, to really dig into what I wanted the record to be, and to really have time to write and to see how I was going to take my audience and guide them maybe in a way that, or into a place that maybe collectively we haven't been before. And that's hard to do. I mean, like it's hard to take time off the road. It's hard not to go out on the road because it's business, and for us, thank God, it's really big business. And making this record in a lot of ways, the process of it was very interesting. Something happened to me. The process was I cut a lot of songs, and somewhere in the studio, somewhere during that time, I felt something that I hadn't felt in a while, and that's where the creative process for this record turned. And that what I felt was hunger. I felt hungry to grab my audience and rattle their cage, and take these songs and rattle their cage. That's a great feeling, especially when you've been making records and been on the road as long as we have.
Did it feel going in like the stakes were different this time around, or where you are and where the career is at this point, that it was time to do that, or did that just kind of develop?
I didn't think about stakes. I mean, the only stakes that I felt was just pushing my audience along and being better. Being a creative person, I mean, it's a constant annoyance. You know what I mean? I mean, it just is. I mean, because you're never happy, and you're always creating, and you're always thinking, and it's always this voice in the back of your head. Just when you think you have nothing to do, and just when you think that okay, I'm not going to write a song today, there's this thing, and it's not, I shouldn't say annoyance, but it is. But to have that creative voice in your head, sometimes I just go, shut up. So sometimes leave me alone, and so it can be annoying, but that's what I do, and so it was important for me to really dig into that and really find my sweet spot in the middle of all of that. And that would have been impossible if I was doing the business of doing business on the road. And I think it's really important for people to recognize that, especially if you want to make a great record and not one that's on a conveyor belt and what's expected or what like it's easy to do. I mean, like I said, it just is easy to do it because it's time to do it. And I feel like, well, okay, you talk about stakes. There would have been some stakes if I had made that record, probably. Or
if you just made it.
If I just made another record, yeah. Look, it happens, but I didn't want to make that record. I wanted to build on what we built. I really wanted to push myself as a writer, as an entertainer, as an artist, as a musician, and not just rest on what we've accomplished and the success that we've had.
And you knew that going in. I mean, that was the target.
That was the target. There was a little bit of exhaustion in there, honestly. But I knew if I would have gone and made a record just on the conveyor belt and what was expected, especially after the last record, because the last record I made wasn't meant for mass consumption. It was just a heartfelt acoustic singer-songwriter record, basically. But this record had to be different, and I knew it was going to take some time. When I got done in Foxborough last August, I knew then, we all knew, my whole touring family knew we weren't going to tour this year to make the record, and it was the best decision I ever made. I mean, for myself, as a person, as an individual, as my relationships, my friendships with everyone, I'm a lot easier to be around now. Now that I'm happy with my record and taking time off the road and like I said, it goes back to feeling hungry. And it's kind of come full circle to that too.
So you said you could feel it pivot at a certain point in the process. Was that, was there a song, or was there even a moment in a song where you could feel it, where you could sort of get a sense of, oh, okay, I see where this might be going?
Well, I mean, we had recorded several songs. Some of them I loved, some of them I didn't know if it was perfect yet. And then we found a couple, and then I wrote Wild Child. I wrote If This Bus Could Talk, and I wrote several, a song called Beer Can Chicken. And I wrote 3 songs that I was really proud of, and then I found American Kids, and then I found a song called Drink It Up, and all of a sudden, the record took an aggressive turn. When I say aggressive, I don't mean it in a party atmosphere. I mean it in a sense, I found some songs that were aggressive, that were rocking, that had a great lyric, that had melody, that wasn't pandering to anything, that wasn't stupid, that talked about people's lives, about their strengths, their weaknesses, their insecurities, so many things. And I'm not saying there's not any fun on it, because there is a lot of fun in it. But I had some songs that did exactly what I was talking about with you earlier, is that I knew I had finally, with American Kids and Wild Child and Drink It Up, Until It's Gone, and Rock Bottom, and a few of these things, it touched on a lot of my audience's emotions without going backwards and without going too forward. I don't want to annihilate them either.
But tell me, what were you, as those were starting to give you a skeleton for this thing, what were you seeing in those songs? What was holding those together? What was coming out?
Well, there was a thread. There's a thread that runs through this record. And there is a thread of, it goes to the heart of what the Big Revival is to me. Now, the Big Revival was written by Dennis Lindy, and it's a song about a certain chapter of religion. I'm a big believer in spirituality. There's things about religion I don't necessarily agree with or understand or whatever, but I'm a big believer in spirituality. I've seen songs change people, and that's spiritual. But the Big Revival has a whole other tone to it. And it's a thread that runs through this record, and it's why I got hungry and why I got excited in the studio. To me, the Big Revival and a lot of these songs is about picking yourself up, is about picking yourself up off the bottom. It's about reclaiming your soul in a way. And it's about revival. It's about restarting. It's about reclaiming what was yours. And it's about just living life with passion. Like I said, this album ain't about a party. It's about living with passion. And it's about walking into a room full of people and smiling and meaning it. We all have this inner voice inside of our head that says, okay, push, push, push. And when I say push, I mean like it may mean leave, or it may mean stay, or it may mean move to California. It could mean leave home or whatever it is. It's just that thing that you may not have the courage, but you hear this voice in your head. And I think being able to have the confidence to make those decisions finally in your life, and maybe for the first time in your life, you have that confidence, and that's a revival in a sense, and it's a lot like Drink It Up is. Drink It Up is to look at that title. You would assume that it's a party song. It's about drinking, but it's not. It's about living. It's about taking your life and living it to the fullest. And I preach that a lot, but
and then there's Don't It,
and then there's Don't It,
which is kind of the other side saying this is going to happen. It's going to come at you whether
exactly
you like it
right.
or not.
That's going to life has a way of making you strong, which it does. But it's got its also in that song. It says life has a way of moving you on, don't it? And that's a thread that that's another one. In Rock Bottom, there's so many of these songs that have that thread. And when I got these songs, I knew that I was not just had a collection of songs that were going to work, that were fun, that meant something, but I had an actual thread. And it's been a while since I've had a thread. It's easy to put a record together full of songs that connect all the dots, the A's, the B's, the C's, and got a bridge, and then you got another chorus, and you got a guitar ride, and then it just ends up being a record, right? And it sounds great. And it would have been very easy to put a record like that out, but when I got excited, when I got hungry in the studio, the pivotal point of the creative process is when I realized I had this thread, like Don't It and like Rock Bottom, and because that Don't It is my life. I mean, it's so much my life, my God. I mean, I was this kid from East Tennessee that had a lot of dreams and had a guitar and a truck, and I packed everything I had and left East Tennessee and came to town, you know, as a songwriter, and set out for my dream. And it's a common dream, as we know, but all the things that has came in and out of my life, all the wonderful people that I've met, is because of that dream, and the people and the mistakes and the hard times, the good times, all that's wrapped into the idea of the song "Don't It." You know, because it's easy. Like that song is, to me, that song "Don't It's" about mistakes, and it's like realizing that you should have took a right turn, but you took a left turn, and I think a lot of people get freaked out. Oh my God, we took the wrong turn. Well, the message of "Don't It" is, well, wait a second, just stop the car and turn it around.
Right. Here's where you are. Yeah.
So that is, but that goes also to a way of living. It's about rock bottom and the big revival and Drink It Up. All those songs to me are about taking your life and moving it where you want it to go. And sometimes that's hard, but especially, you know, rock bottom is that way, you know, because all of us have felt that emotion at rock bottom. Sometimes it's just as simple, not always, but sometimes to me it's as simple as turning the radio up to pick yourself up off the ground. And because we've all had our heart broken, we've all broken hearts, we've all, you know, there's been things in our life that didn't go the way we planned it.
It's just what it is.
And that's the way
wake
it
up
is.
In the morning.
That's life, you know. And so finding that strength to get up and move forward is another thread of this record, you know, with the big revival and a lot of those songs.
Well, it's interesting. I mean, talk about finding a thread and making it, you know, I think especially nowadays, the way people listen to music, you can't just, here's some songs, I'm gonna put out, here's 10 songs that I happen to finish around the same time.
Right.
That, you know, that's
changed a lot.
That's not how they're gonna deal with it,
That's
which
right.
isn't to say that if you have a reason for these songs go together, this is taking you on a certain journey, that you can still do that.
Well, yeah, and it's great when you can do that. I mean, we are in a singles business now, it seems like, you know, which is sad, but the way it is. But still, as an artist and as a creative person, the idea of putting a record together that makes sense and connects the dots with a thread, lift up your audience, is very special. And that's the way I felt when I got done with this record, you know, and because they deserve it.
You know, what was the thinking about title song, opening the album with, you know, we're in a scene of a snake handling, speaking in tongues, you know, old time revival meeting, that's your
right.
Entry point here.
That's right. Well, the philosophy behind putting the big revival first was everything that I've been talking about. It's to set a tone. And it's about, you know, a certain aspect of religion and believe in it or not, you know. But I knew what I wanted to say to my audience, and I knew when I heard the big revival, and it was late in the process. I didn't have an album title before this, but when I heard it, I was like, it was everything that I was thinking, not the song lyrics, but it was everything that I was thinking in my head about what I wanted to say. The idea of the big revival. That title alone is one of the reasons that I recorded this song, because it's why I took a year off. It's why I want to come back hard. It's why we're going to come back hard. We're going to come back and hit our audience square in the face, but we want to do it with a certain tone. And that was the big revival. It was about lifting up our audience, celebrating the fact that we get to do this for a living and that we get to share it all together. And just, you know, feeling of, I don't know if rebirth is the word, because it's not, but it's that feeling of that. It's the idea of taking your music, taking your audience, taking that tone with new music, with songs that matter, with songs that aren't, you know, hopefully have some depth, that are going to make people think, that are going to make people laugh, cry, want to come to a show and have a great time. But in the process, make them realize that these songs are about them. And that is why I was so excited when I got done, and why we decided to title it The Big Revival, because it was everything that I wanted to say to my audience. Because you have to think about that. You have to think of, okay, all right, we took a year off. Now what am I going to say to these people that have been there for a long time, and we've spoken to them for a while up there on stage, and what am I going to say now? You know, and the idea of the big revival was it.
You talk about these songs being about them. Mm-hmm. Do you feel like that's something that, you know, country music's gotten away from at all? Do you feel like where things are doesn't do that in the way that it does at its best?
I don't know that it does or it doesn't. I can't speak for anybody else's, you know, fan base. Whether you like you know, our genre now, our genre is very interesting now, you know. But whether you like it or hate it, I still think that it's still a genre that speaks to the fans.
Tell me about the two buses on this record. There's the
two buses.
Well, there's the bus in the there's the bus in the American Kids bus,
and
then there's your bus.
My old bus. All right. Well, which one do you want to talk about first?
Well, I want to talk about what's the connection, or what's the, you know, these are two very significant pieces of what this is. Maybe that's just fluky that they happen to be that mode of transportation, but it's...
Well, you know, a bus has been a big part of my life for a lot of years now. And If This Bus Could Talk is, you know, it was a very emotional song to write. And it was almost impossible to write it because it's impossible to take 20 years of your life and condense it into 3 minutes. But the emotion of how wonderful it's been out there for us, and how much fun we had out there and are having. The journey. That song is basically about our journey over the last several years, and all the crazy nights and all the people we've met that we'd have never met without music. Like I say in the song lyric, you know, there was a night in Virginia Beach, Virginia, that we literally, I think it was Hurricane Andrew, I'm not sure. We were supposed to play that night, and you know, the hurricane missed Virginia Beach, but we were still a part of it, the eye of the storm. But, so we had a hurricane party there at the venue, and went and bought slip and slides and put them on the top of the grass at the venue, and just, you know, had a lot of drinks, and we had nowhere to go, and that's a great memory, you know, and had our own hurricane party right there in Virginia Beach, and we played the next night. But it's all those things that you don't think are important at the time that over years add up, make their way into a song like this. Because there have been countless nights of us getting off stage. And like I say in the song, you know, these are your brothers, these are your family out there, your road family. And the more beers you have, the crazier that philosophy gets. But that's life on the road, you know, and one thing that I think we've always done is that we've always realized how incredibly lucky that we are to have the life that we have, go out there and make music for a living, and to make people happy and make people smile. And that has been the thing that has made me the happiest about how my life is right now. But that bus now, we were outside of the Philadelphia Eagles football stadium a couple years ago, and the bus that I'm talking about in the song is its nickname is Moby. That's the bus's name now. And I got 3 or 4 guys still out there on the road with me that I went to college with. You know, they grew up in East Tennessee with me. And we were staring outside the bus, just watching all the trucks load in. It was in the morning, and you could see Moby over there on the right. And David Farmer, my road manager, said, he goes, if that bus could talk, we would all be in a lot of trouble. And I went, you're exactly right, sir. And I wrote that title down. I had it for a couple of years, but it took me a while to wrap my arms around it and wrap my head around it. And it is very authentically real for us.
And do you see any tie to then making the American Kids bus, you know, the visual manifestation of all this, you know?
Well, there is we did that American Kids bus. I doubt that it may look like it on the outside. I mean, we painted it. That was the biggest thing. That was the biggest, I shouldn't say the biggest. That was the best therapy I've had all year, was painting that bus. I mean, it was a lot of fun now. And me and Sean Sylvan and Don Lepore, we all went to California, and it was a white bus before we started. And when we got finished with it, it was just this thing, you know. And But I doubt the inside of that bus has seen as much fun as ours. But I'll tell you, the spirit and the heart of the way that video turned out, and the song itself, it's something that American Kids was that one thing that I was looking for that was different. You know it when you hear it, but you don't always hear it. There's not that many of those songs around, you know? Because we're an industry of chasers and copycats. We really are, you know, and that's just the way it is. And when you hear something completely different, I knew when I heard that song that I was going to record it, because I felt like that it was me and the generation that I grew up in. But I also felt that anybody in that generation or older would totally get it. But now I see that it's connecting on a whole other level with a lot of other different people. It's pretty universal. But I felt like the first time I heard American Kids that it was a very free spirit song. And it was a song that I felt like that, especially if you come from a small town. I think people that don't come from a small town can still relate to it. But I feel like that if you come from a small town, there's these certain values that are inherent. I've got a lot of friends that play pro sports, and you know, there's probably a lot of kids out there that want to be Drew Brees or want to be, you know, whoever it is. They're told as kids, well, that's really not going to happen to you. You know what I mean? But it can happen to you. Those are constraints that aren't even there. Those are just in your head. But I was that kid. You know, I was that kid that was dreaming, that didn't have enough courage to dream until later on. I'd go out in the middle of the backyard at my grandmother's house and stare up at the East Tennessee sky and wonder if there was anything out there past my county line. You know. And I think there's a lot of kids out there like that. I think a lot of people out there that had that emotion, and I think that goes to the heart of American Kids. And I've been the person in the parking lot that when I heard that song, I couldn't believe it, because it was just like my life laid out, you know. And I've been the guy at football practice, you know, maybe stretching the truth just a little bit about what happened with this girl on the weekend, you know. And that song is so real, and I just think it hit me right in the heart. And I'm telling you, I knew when I heard that song that if I cut that song, we cut it right, that it was going to hit my audience square in the face.
It all seemed that song seems, you know, closely related to a song I was going to ask about, which is Wild Child. It seems like this similar, you know, some ideas within those that are,
no doubt about it. I mean,
relate.
Especially if you see the video of American Kids, that's a very free-spirited trip they're on. Wild Child was a song that I was very proud of when we got done with it, because I grew up in East Tennessee around a lot of women. My grandmother, my mother, she was a single mom. I had a sister, I had cousins. You know, you go to our house for, you know, to our family's house for Christmas and during the holidays, and it's a lot of women. That's just how I grew. You know, I grew up around them and in that environment. And it seems to me that in the last several years, if you listen to a lot of the songs that have been written about women, that they've been written in a kind of an objectifying way. And if you didn't wear cut-off jeans or a bikini top or sit on a tailgate and drink, that you really weren't worthy, or you didn't add up. And look, I like all three of those things. I'm not saying that I don't, you know, but Wild Child isn't about that. Wild Child is telling some girl out there that's got dreams, that's a free spirit, that she has a chance, that she is worthy. Wild Child is about a girl that doesn't necessarily see the world through her eyes and through her head. She got eyes in her heart, and she is led by her heart, and she loves the love, and she's a free spirit. You know, all the women that have been in my life, whether it's my family or someone that I chased or someone that I loved or fell in love with and out of love with, they've all had the idea of Wild Child in them. And that's what I thought. I thought about all those people when I was writing the song with Josh Osborne and Shane McAnally. That's who I had in my head, is all these people that all my island friends and all of my hippie, you know, New England friends, and all the people that are in my life that work for me, that all the women that work for me, that don't work for me, that have that idea of this person that we wrote about in the song in them. And I think it's an important song because of that, because all of a sudden they don't have to just be one thing that's been sung about over and over again, recently. And I'm proud of that. I'm proud that we wrote a song that lifts up, a woman in that way. That they can be a free spirit and they can be that way, but they might not be looked down upon.
Well, like you said, she's not a woman that we've seen a lot of in
not
recent,
lately.
especially not from male.
No,
performers in that perspective. And but that was an intention. I mean, that's what you wanted.
No doubt about it.
That's what you wanted that to do. Yeah.
Well, not necessarily be the anti that.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that. I'm just saying when we got done with it, all of a sudden we realized that we had written a song about someone that was really smart. She got a little bit of hippie in her, a little bit of island girl in her. She's got, but still, she can be in corporate America, but still have this thing in her, that makes her relatable to this person in this song. I like the idea of this person coloring outside the lines of their life because, we're brought up to think that, that we have to do a certain thing, and that we have to, have kids at a certain time. We got to be married by a certain time. We got to have this job, and we're not successful if we don't have this job. And more times than not, I've been attracted to people that don't have that thought process.
Straight down
and
the
I guess
line.
that comes from spending a lot of time in the Virgin Islands and meeting all these different wonderful people with a lot of different backgrounds, with a lot of different political beliefs, religious beliefs, that just kind of, like I said, that just kind of let time hang in the balance, that color outside the lines of their life, who are free spirits and who love. And that is the person in Wild Child.
So you said that, you want there to be, obviously you want it to still be a fun record, and but it's not a party record. Your success changed a lot of the vocabulary of what country songs were in terms of parties, beaches, barefoot,
no doubt,
and a lot of those things. As do you think where do you think people have taken that and run with it?
Well, you can't be the person that, the tough thing about making this record and being where I am in my career is that I'm constantly competing with myself. I am. If I didn't step it up, or if I didn't work really hard to be creative and push the envelope and try to make a record that has gone down a road that I hadn't been before, then I'm trying to be, if I did the same thing and if I tried to conform to the sound now, then I'm trying to be them. Or if I do what I've done before, then I'm just repeating myself. So it's really hard to.
But at the same time, you are who you have the identity.
At the same time, you are who you are.
You come from the same place you came from.
But that's the balance now. I'm trying to find some songs that inspire you, your audience. You can't repeat yourself. You can't do what everybody else is doing. So that's another reason when I found the songs that I found and wrote the songs that I wrote, I knew that it fit in that spot. And so that is hard to do, and it takes time. You just can't mail that in, and you shouldn't anyway.
Yep.
And I guess the longer I've been doing this, the more important it is to me not to mail that in. Because why? Why make that record when you can make this one? As far as where people have taken that, I don't know. Look, it's the music that's being made is being made, and but it's got a rockin' edge to it, But people try to act like that's new. I love music with edge, but the music that I love has to have a melody. It's got to have lyrics. That's why I love "Refugee" by Tom Petty. I love it. But
I was just with Tom Petty last week, and I've been spending all my time thinking about how amazing Tom Petty is.
Yeah, well, here's why. Because it's truthful, it's powerful, in his lyrics, and there's a melody there. It's not stupid. It's thoughtful, and it's "Refugee" is one of my favorite songs. But so you think about the music's being made today in our format. And everybody says it's rock or whatever you want to call it. It's a new rock, whatever. But you listen to Merle Haggard and you strip away the steel guitar on "Lonesome Fugitive." It's the same. It's the story's the same. The energy is kind of the same as "Refugee." And there's several examples, but so what's happening now is nothing new.
So with that, there's been a lot of talk about a changing audience for the genre, about younger, about newer, about, is that, have you seen it? Do you feel it? Is that a thing you're aware of, or is it not really so?
I think our audience is very unique to anybody else's. I think, look, nothing stays the same, as you know. There's except great songs great songs have to matter. I think that will, no matter what genre it is, I mean, that will always stay the same. And that will outlast the idea of a great song and touching someone and reaching in and really, really waking somebody's soul up with a song. That's not a phase. That is not a phase. Now, all the outer shell of how that happens are phases, you know. But for me, I have a very eclectic audience, a very diverse audience. I see young people, I see older people, I see people in my age, I see black, white, I see everybody in No Shoes Nation, and it's beautiful to see that. So I don't make music that. Now look, I used to. When I cut Kick in the Closet, I'm telling you, that went straight to the college crowd, right? Recently, I just been trying to find great songs. Look, American Kids is something that hopefully will be played on the radio for a while after its chart life, you know, because it relates to a lot of different people.
Well, and what is it? I mean, obviously, you've got to cultivate an audience that knows that they're going to follow you to some different places.
Right.
That when you've done things like Blue Chair or like the last record or
right.
things that are not, what is it that has enabled you to
do those kind of
be
things.
able to do those kind of things?
Well, at time, I think success allows you to do certain things.
But success also builds expectations, and
success also, well, a lot of things come with success.
Right.
Jealousy, negativity, stuff, you know, but with success also comes the ability to make a record every now and then, like I made it with the old Blue Chair record, or with the Lucky Old Son record, or the last record, the Life on the Rock record. Because you get to a point where you just can't make, like, I knew I was going to make Life on a Rock after I did Hemingway's Whiskey. Because I couldn't go and, we made another record after Hemingway's Whiskey called Welcome to the Fishbowl. And I knew after that record that I couldn't go make just another record like I was talking about earlier, just get back on that treadmill and find some songs, because I was not inspired to do that. I had all these songs that didn't really fit on any other album, but they all fit together. And that was Life on a Rock. And they weren't commercial. I mean, they were not necessarily. I mean, Pirate Flag was a top 5 record. When I See This Bar is one of my favorite songs I ever wrote, but it wasn't mass consumption. You know what I mean? And so it was just stories that mattered to me and all my friends and everybody that I spent the last 15, 20 years with down in the islands, you know. So, but I have to do that personally to be able to make a record like I've made now. I mean, in a lot of ways, if you think about it, the process of making Life on a Rock started the process of the big revival. I mean, it really did, because it got me in a really creative mode, and the big revival wouldn't be the same without making Life on a Rock, because I had that mellow, kind of contemplative singer-songwriter record where I wrote, 90% of the songs on the record, and it got me to a place where I just wanted to hit really aggressive and really harder, and with songs that not necessarily were party songs, but were songs that you could play in your show for years and that didn't have that burn factor or some silly factor to them. So that's interesting.
I mean, that's where that balance is interesting, where you said you knew it had to be,
yeah.
It had to be but give you the room to do things that sounded different, give you the room to do an American Kids.
Oh yeah.
That sits within, not that Life on a Rock was a side record, but it wasn't. But that's clearly like, this is a different thing that goes over here.
Right.
This is one where you're, trying to go
down
the middle for your fans and hit them hard.
No doubt about it.
And still go into some other places.
And it's interesting though, like if you ask a lot of the people that are invested in our life out there on the road, some of their favorite records or the records that weren't down the middle, because they get to see a side of me that they didn't see. But still, it's good to have that in your life, and that I've been able to do that for a couple of records now, because one day I'm going to go back over here and do that again. And it won't be so unexpected. You know what I mean? But it feels good to have a song like American Kids out there hitting America right in the face and in the heart. And And that's what me and the guys are my road family and everybody, we're gonna do with our audience next summer.
What has some of the people outside country music that have come into this world, working with the Wailers and some of the island musicians, working with Grace, working with some of those kind of folks, what do you take from those experiences? What stays with you?
Well, I mean, they're working with a lot of people that weren't expected. I don't think anybody expected me and Dave Matthews to collaborate. I don't think anybody were expecting me and Grace Potter or the Wailers or Uncle Crocker or whoever it is, or Joe Walsh, whatever. Working with Grace Potter is interesting, and I love it. We sing, we're not supposed to sing like that together, but when she grew up in Vermont, I grew up in East Tennessee, and we had probably very similar upbringings, but didn't know it. And I didn't know Grace Potter until I walked into the studio to sing You and Tequila with her. And then once we met each other, it was like we'd known each other our whole lives. Our voices were perfect together, and we laugh about this a lot because as natural as it is, and the idea that it works just goes to my point of how powerful music really is. Because, like I said, we didn't grow up together, and she's a different genre than I am. But when we get together, it works. And that just goes to show you how wonderful and powerful music really is. And when it works, it's when it's magic. A lot of my fans were going, who? A lot of her fans were going, why? But now, and it's true, but I think with the success of You and Tequila, they see that it really does work. And with me and Dave Matthews on I'm Alive, and it was a really different for me, and it pushed me as an artist, and it made me better working with people like that, especially Grace and Dave,
What's the push? I mean, what is it that?
What's the what?
What is that push? I mean, as you said, is it more? There's that commonality of as musicians, there's stuff that we share, but obviously coming from different places. How does that come out?
No matter what you do in life, no matter what your job is, but especially if you're creative, or an athlete, or you do something that you have to push yourself to get better, because you don't stay the same. You either get worse or you get better. I think that working with people outside of my comfort zone that I really respect, like Dave and like Grace, and especially Joe Walsh. I mean, like those guys, like they just pushed me to be better. And because there's a real fine line between a groove and a rut. And sometimes you don't know the difference. You think, the worst part of that is like you think you're in a groove, but you're really in a rut.
You feel like I've really got it going on.
Yeah, I've really got it going on, but no, you're getting your ass kicked.
You're spinning your wheels.
Yeah, but working with people like that has helped me a lot to really try to be a better artist and to be a better songwriter and to keep it fresh. I mean, I think it's, as long as I've been doing this, I think it's great to work with people that aren't expected. And, Grace Potter she's a lot in this world now. She's one of the best singers I've ever heard. She's a great songwriter and an unbelievable entertainer. And it was just a little different. And she worked so well on Wild Child. And it's hard to do because it's hard to recreate magic like that we did with You and Tequila. It's hard. It's almost a recipe for disaster to try to do it again.
Having pulled off a surprise.
Yeah. And okay, now here we go. We're going to do it again. But the song is different. The song is it's a lot about, I mean, that's, speaking of Wild Child, that's Grace Potter now. I mean, she's got a lot of Wild Child, the idea of the character in Wild Child in her. And so it just was perfect for her to sing on that song, because she pulls out a lot of emotions that song, I mean, she has a lot of emotions within her that song has. And I'm proud of that she's on it. But working with her has made me better. Working with Dave Matthews made me better because it got me, whether I was in a rut or not, it made me think about it. It made me think, okay, well, I got to get better. Because you said watch Dave play guitar and sing, it's incredible, And that's the thing that pushed me the most, And working with the Wailers was so great, was spiritual in a lot of ways. I mean, we went down to Marley's studio in Kingston, Jamaica, where they worked a lot, at Tough Gong, and we went down there and shot the video for a song called "Spread the Love" that was on the last record. And that's another example. We went and shot a video with the Wailers in Jamaica that cost a lot of money, and we knew it wasn't going to be a single, just because we wanted to do it, just for the experience of it. I got a picture in my bus of Family Man, Bob Marley, and Seco Patterson, and it was while they were on tour in Europe, and they're on a bus, and obviously it was in the 70s, and I've had that picture in my bus for several years, and all of a sudden here I am in the studio with Family Man, and in walks Seco Patterson, who hadn't been in that studio for years. Hardly gets out of his house, they say, down in Jamaica. But he was a part of the video. And it was it was a very spiritual music moment. More than having a hit record. More than I don't know.
Some
more
ticket record or
whatever more than
thing,
I mean, it's great to go platinum. Look, it's great to go platinum and have a #1 record, right? It is, but that will never happen again, probably for me. And that moment was really special for me. But to see how special it was for Family Man, who hadn't seen him in a while, all of a sudden now here I am in between those two guys that were in the picture in my bus for years with Bob Marley, and it was insanely. It was a music moment in my life that you can't buy, that I wouldn't sell for anything, that makes all the struggles and the things that you do in your day-to-day life to be who you are. A lot of things you do because you want to. Most of the things you do because you have to, because it's the business of doing business. Moments like that with Seco Patterson and Family Man and some of the original Wailers horn section. Here I am in Bob Marley's studio, same board. It makes all that stuff worth it. It makes everything that you built your life, everything that you've done to build your life worth it, having moments like that. And there have been a few in my life, but that one, I'm glad I made that trip down there because I'll never forget it.
Those are why you do it.
Those are why you do it, and that kind of validates your dream in a lot of ways. But it also goes to show you, like I said with Grace and with Dave, there's no as a kid growing up in East Tennessee, there's no way all this makes sense. But when you get together and actually make music and forget about the boundaries and you forget about the constraints and the walls that you're supposed to have around you in between the genres and stuff, it all really does work if it's authentic and real.
So as you take this time off from the touring routine and think about what it's going to be to get back out, now as you've built more and more stuff, there's more and more catalog, there's more and more hits, and then trying to do what this record is. How do you think about putting those pieces together? How do you think about what that story is going to be when you get up in front of people and tell it again? I was talking to Petty about this as well. It's like, at a certain point, you got those 30 songs everybody knows.
And they want to hear
something in, one of those goes out.
That's right.
But, as you keep saying, you're at a different place. You're, so how do you bring all of that under one roof?
Well, I've lived with this record a lot. And you're right. There are certain songs people expect to hear. Dang it, they came to the show and they want to hear that song, and why didn't you play it? And that's the way it is. And so, like, if I went and saw Tom Petty and he didn't play Refugee, I'd be really disappointed. You know what I mean? But I think for me, I've lived with this record now for several months since we got done mastering it. And there's one song on there that says exactly what I wanted to say, the whole thought process. And that song is Till It's Gone. And I was thinking about, okay, what is it that I want to say to my audience after my year off? And imagine yourself up there on stage, on the edge of the stage the very first night. What do you want to say to these people? And it's till it's gone. The lyric is, got nowhere to go, I'll not to get there, but I'm going there with you. Tonight we're running on luck, and if we're going to use it all up, there's only one thing left to do. Now imagine me talking to the audience. I'm going to take a deep breath and hold it in, twirl you around till my head spins, kiss that lipstick and wear it thin till it's gone. Break every rule we ever learned, kick back and watch the big wheels turn. Light up the night and let it burn till it's gone. That is what matters to me and what I want to say to my audience. One life, one chance, one ticket to the big dance. You and me just holding on right down to the last song. To me, that's why I go there, and I think that's why they come, is to feel that energy. And that's what I hope has, for me anyway, it has been. But with the fans and the people that have come to our shows for years, I hope that energy is boiling underneath. And that when those two energies meet, that it's going to be a really special moment, and that song's going to be played. I promise you. But the lyric of that song is that song is something that I talk to the writers about. Like, what do I say? What do I say to them? You know, and they came up with that, and I went, that's it. That's it. That's the emotion I feel. That's what I want to do with them. I want them in the palm of my hand. I want to drag them along. I want to kiss them. I want to make love to them. I'm going to do whatever you can do with them, you know, and enjoy each other, and how lucky we are to all be there. And it's a victory in a way. I mean, it really is. I mean, to be able to do this, it's a life victory. I mean, especially for all of us, because we don't have to be doing this. I mean, we could be doing something else. We could be, you know, we could be doing something that really doesn't make us happy. But this makes me happy to see their faces, and that makes me happy. And so I'm looking forward to that moment. And that song, though, especially, though, is the thought process of where my head has been and what I want to do to them once we reconnect.
But it's like you said, it's not, you know, it's not that it's not, it's still a celebration, it's still a party, it's still all those things, but it's really about what's behind that.
Well, I mean, look,
why, the reason for that.
Well, I've seen it printed a lot, and look, I'm not saying that we don't sell escapism, because we have, but it's not. I mean, as much as it is about escapism and a party at a show, look, that's why people love music, is to escape. That's why people go to the movies, is to escape. But I think that we've kind of evolved from this escapism thing to, especially with this record. Now, I hope they escape when they come to our show, because that's what, like I said, that's what it is. These songs aren't about escape. They're about real life, right in the right now, and real emotions, real feelings, and we may remind them of a few things, but hopefully it's in a way to where they realize they're not alone. And that is what I hope this record does too. And in the process, maybe make them escape a little bit. But
well, escape meaning whatever that means, meaning take them
Whatever it means
somewhere,
to
meaning
them.
go to another place,
Yeah.
is different than escape meaning just be brainlessly, you know, just.
Doesn't mean you're getting drunk.
Doesn't mean you're turning it. Doesn't mean you're turning it
mean-
off.
yeah.
It means you're turning it more on. You know.
Yeah. You know, there's this perception that I only sing about partying and getting drunk and all that kind of stuff. If people saw how hard I worked and how much thought went into every move we make, they would be astounded.